Hello, you beautiful people. Welcome to Endpoint, the UK hub of esports, and we're here today to interview Pete, doing some amazing commentary, as you'll see in a minute. Hello, you beautiful people. I'm here with Pete from Endpoint. So, how did Endpoint get started?
So, Adam, my business partner, actually started Endpoint in 2016. I was co-running another business called London Conspiracy, who are in the UK. And about 6 months in, Adam basically started Endpoint because there was a famous esports team called Dignitas, who, unfortunate name, but who had just sold to 76ers in America. So they left that big gap in the UK market that there wasn't really like a UK brand doing it properly, supporting players properly, and actually having that infrastructure and so on. Anyways, that's why he started it. And 6 months in, I met Adam at an event in Copenhagen. So it was Copenhagen Games, Counter-Strike. Yeah. I had a female team there, and he had the Endpoint male team there. And after party, you got chatting and drinks. And,
yes, you do.
Yes, you do. We really connected. Both our business partners couldn't really put in the time and effort that was required. We were both freelance. So I was doing poker full time. Adam's a software developer. Mm-hmm. And we had as much time as we wanted and resources, because it's not a cheap thing to do.
No, of course.
So we both had the resources and time to do it properly. We kind of like merged the companies, you could say, but I just came on board with Endpoint about 6 months in. And now we just do everything 50-50, me and Adam, and we've been doing it for nearly 7 years now, probably. So yeah, that's basically outside.
That's awesome. So over the past 7 years, how have you seen the esports basic community has changed in the UK? How have you seen it evolve from going into university now to then, like 7 years ago, not hardly being known, now it's in universities. You've got university teams, you've got this, what you've stepped up here, which is the Endpoint, like little HQ, where other teams come in boot camp. How's that been changing?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely evolved over the 7 years. I'd say that it's come a little more mainstream. There's still some way to go. The government has recognised it a little bit more, although realistically, there's a long way to go still there. There's not even a SIC code in government, where a SIC code essentially tracks an industry and how much money goes through it. There's not even a SIC code for esports. So when we sign up as a business, you can't click esports as a category. You click like marketing, media, whatever the hell you want to, some random thing. So there's still a long way to go, especially with visas or that kind of stuff. There's a lot the industry needs to do still. So I still say it's in its infancy for the UK. But yeah, as I say, university courses coming online, which does give it more credibility. Although a lot of the university courses can be a bit money grabby. Come do an esports course and play games. It's not really right. But there are some that are doing it well. And we're looking to work with a few local ones as well and do stuff like that. Endpoint's kind of crazy. When we first started, it was all online. We got these bootcamp houses around the UK to start with. Got a bit of student housing, and we've just kind of progressed that into this 4,500 square foot facility now, kind of reinvesting our profits and so on as we go. We bootstrap the whole thing. We haven't had outside investment, which a lot of companies have had.
Which is amazing, by the way.
Yeah, I think that's the issue with the UK is there's been a lack of investment, outside investment. Whereas you have these companies in America or even in Scandinavia, we've had a lot of investment pumped in, so they're kind of ahead of the UK market. And the UK market's lacked. I think it's just due to kind of more. I think investors are a bit more cautious than more tech focused than in other countries. So
other countries having the government backing them themselves.
That's also true as well. Yeah, there's no government grants here really. It's all free sports.
Which is unfortunate, because esports is going to bring so much more money into the UK. The UK gaming scene itself, just think of all the different potential opportunities you can have around the UK, with Insomnia being one of them, EX in London, and then there could be a couple other events that could be popping up around the UK.
100%, yeah. Yeah, I think there was just a report for China as well, and China had 10 billion esports revenue or something this last year. I mean, so why is the UK not really pushing that? There's at least 1 billion in the UK. It's the 5th biggest market in the world, I think, the UK for games. And I know games and esports is slightly separate. It's the gaming industry is more casual gamers versus the pro side, and there should be more for sure.
And this facility, this 4,000 square facility, is also going to help like other content creators as well, like people who are trying to break out of that small town or trying to break out of that like city where there's nothing around them. This is like a good hub for people to be like, oh, I can look to this, I can apply to Endpoint UK, I can get this set up. Well, other people are trying to set up their own teams, they can come here as a kind of subsidiary and be like, hey, I started with Endpoint, I'm now Endpoint UK streamer, Endpoint UK esports commentator, all this other stuff, which is amazing for the industry.
We've had a lot of people come through over the 7 years. Like there's a lot of casters or a lot of streamers or a lot of pro players that come through us and are now, right at the top.
Yeah.
And that's great. We kind of can be seen as a bit of a path to pro sometimes, but you kind of need that as a bootstrap company. If we had like millions and millions to invest, we could potentially keep those players and we would be the top, but so it's a different model in that sense. I think that, for creators, we're looking to work with creators within the South Yorkshire area, probably kind of start, but yeah, we're trying to do stuff one at a time, or we're not doing stuff one at a time. We have like 4 different businesses now, and we're a bit all over the place, but we're trying not to do too much at the same time and split our focus too much. So currently focus is, prac rooms, filling out the rooms with pro teams, sponsorships, all that kind of side of things, grassroots community for the UKC, and we've got dev projects come to go. We're then not also trying to do, tons of content creator stuff, tons of this, tons of that, because there's just too much. So
you're trying to niche down as much as possible.
There's only so much you can do at once, and if we got more investment, then sure, we could potentially hire more staff to do more things, but we're a team of, there's 9 staff now full time. We have pros and content creators on top of that. Yeah. But I don't want to take on too much because, people with Endpoint, we feel it's like a family, and I don't want that family to feel like, I don't want someone to come on board and not feel like they're part of the family, and we haven't got the time or capacity to welcome them in and actually feel like they're,
give them the time. And
so yeah, exactly. Yeah, like if we're too cramped and too overworked, then it's gonna you lose that kind of like that family aspect, which is important to us. But
what I've seen today is you seem like a tight knit family as it is. Like everyone knows each other's names. Everyone has got their own little things. Like just before we started, someone came down, made his own coffee, and immediately I knew how he made his coffee because of your YouTube. And it's just like a little close knitness that we've got. Is
trying to do that stuff. So we've just started a YouTube kind of like you could call it like the office. Like you could call it that. We're trying to make it like a fun environment for people's working. And actually tell that story, and maybe people who want to work in esports kind of get what it's like to work in esports.
Yeah,
to some extent. But it's also, I think some esports teams have issues with like people will be fans of pro players or a content creator, but then they find it hard to sometimes attach themselves to a brand. So if the pro player leaves, for example, they might leave. They might not be a fan of Endpoint anymore. I'm trying to get it to a stage where we can go. Like this is the people that are behind the scenes at Endpoint, get to know our staff, get to know Endpoint as a family, and hopefully we kind of bring people along that journey and they like Endpoint and the pros and the streamers. And then we also have, if a pro leaves or we have to change team for whatever reason or whatever it is, they kind of stick with us because they understand who's behind Endpoint and who's like, we're doing it for a reason, we're not just doing it as cutthroat business that some are. So
your family here, and the point behind it isn't the players or the people comment, even though they are an important aspect. It's to literally get the brand looking like, hey, we're a team, and this is how we do it, and this is how we can grow in the future, and how things are built up.
Yep.
How has it been with your YouTube journey so far?
YouTube's been hard. I wish. So when we first started, there's some mistakes we make at first. Obviously, you kind of learn as you go throughout the years. There's plenty of mistakes been made. One of the main mistakes we made at the start was obviously it was just me and Adam for a number of years. We couldn't afford to have staff. We were part-time as well. I wish we'd got a social media manager like straight away and put budget into that, not just in pros. But as soon as we got social media manager, Ree, who I think you met earlier briefly, she joined us in 2020 at the start, and since then it helps us massively. But we didn't really start the YouTube journey till quite late. So we were focused just on Twitter at the start because it was kind of just me and Adam's capacity. So our Twitter's the biggest channel we have. But then we also did quite a lot of focus on Twitch. So we've got 27,000 followers on there, which is great for some stuff. But I wish we'd focus more on YouTube and Twitch because like we can do live streaming events now, which is great. But at the same time, if we don't do live streaming for a certain period of time, we're then not streaming on Twitch for ages.
You lose the audience.
Yeah, and I feel like we've if we'd done YouTube from the start instead of Twitch, then we could have just continually done media. We can be much bigger on YouTube right now. So YouTube's kind of, and quite recently actually within the last year, I made the kind of strategic decision that for YouTube we had to split the channels out. So for ages we just focused on Endpoint.
Yeah. But
one of the issues for esports teams again is that we have like teams in Counter-Strike, Rocket League, Quake, and streamers, for example. Some people are fans of the whole thing and they love Endpoint and they'll follow whatever games we play, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
But then some people are they like Counter-Strike or they like Rocket League.
They like
Quake. Yeah. And that's fine as well. But then if you put a video out on a YouTube channel, like a Counter-Strike video on the main Endpoint channel, if you think about our audience, let's say it's split Counter-Strike, Rocket League, Quake, and everyone who likes everything, you'll hit the Counter-Strike people, you might hit the everyone people, but then half your audience don't care.
Yeah.
So we kind of made the strategic decision to have a Quake channel, a Counter-Strike channel, a Rocket League channel, and then the main channel as well.
Separate them out.
Separate them out, yeah. Main channel now we're going to kind of try and focus on either content creators or, kind of, day in the life of Endpoint, those vlogs that we talked about.
Yeah.
And then for Counter-Strike, it'll be more kind of like Counter-Strike specific. You'll see higher click-through rates because then more people are interested in those videos because if they subscribe to you, they like Counter-Strike or Endpoint. Mm-hmm. So we kind of made that decision, but we are behind the times. Like we're not as big as we should be on that, or hope to be. But yeah.
Interesting thing about Endpoint, if you've got a main channel, why not the technical side of running an esports studio as well? I know you're saying like daily vlogs, and that's very good what you got, but some people might want to niche down even further and see the technical side of like what it is having rotors and like team rotors and what team member goes where when they play and when they train.
But then you could then say again you should put that onto their specific channel, like the Counter-Strike channel. It's quite difficult, really. We're still kind of trying to figure it out a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I think we're still figuring it out a little bit, I'd say.
It's always a journey for everyone who tries to do anything with content creation. Yeah. What about your other social medias? I know you said Twitter's quite big, but what about Instagram and TikTok? Are you just focusing on
Instagram again? We were a bit late to the party. Yeah, we do okay on Instagram, but we should be bigger probably again. But we do okay. Another one, we have quite a large community on Faceit. If you know Faceit, it's like
I haven't ever heard of it.
So Faceit it's for Counter-Strike. It's the UKIC that I was talking about. It's the grassroots community hub we have there. So we've got 40,000 members on that, which are kind of, it's its own social media in some way, but it's also a community hub. So we focus there as well. But yeah, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, we started quite late actually. But again, growing it. But yeah,
it's one of the things where you feel like as a business and as an individual, like not having the bandwidth to actually start these social medias, you wish you start them sooner. But all you can do is just step forward ahead. Like myself personally, with this type of social media content journey, is like I failed 6-7 times, and I'm now on a main channel where I actually enjoy what I'm doing, and that's why I'm here right now. But it's one of them things where you just think, oh, what if I jumped onto that? What if I went onto that?
You can't change the past.
You can't change the past, but you have to keep thinking of what's in the future and what's ahead.
All of it's hindsight of what your knowledge now is not what your knowledge was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
If it was, you would have done something different, but you can't. That's just what it is. It's life. Yeah.
What about Endpoint and basically different gaming events? How are you finding that with integrating Endpoint and getting the team together to go down to like Insomnias and all these different games?
So if you do, I don't know where this comes out, but if you do go to Insomnia on the September weekend, are you going?
I'm down there.
Yeah, so we've got a stand again. So we haven't announced that yet, but we will have a stand from that weekend. So come play some games on the stand, win some prizes, have fun, get to know Endpoint a bit more.
You've heard it here first. Head to the Endpoint stand at Insomnia Gaming. Check in the description below for when they release the announcement of that.
Yeah, so go to Insomnia. We'll also potentially have a team there. So we've got Counter-Strike. We're going to be playing the ESL Premiership there. If we qualify, we haven't qualified yet. So he's qualified for LAN there. And we'll probably have some meet and greets with some of our content creators as well. So we've got Pick a Pixel coming down, who's like one of the biggest Rocket League creators. We've got a couple of our kind of like female Rocket League team coming as well. So we have a bunch of people coming to the stand, play with pros, play with content creators, kind of integrate. and probably sell our jerseys and stuff as well. And yeah.
How have you found it going basically flying out for different events and different competitions that you do at Endpoint? For example, I see you've got like a quite amazing trophy stand here of not all your trophies, but you've got a fair few. How is it traveling and how is it going to all these different places?
Yeah, I don't really do it myself anymore as much. So we have like, as the team grows, you kind of, the coach for that team will go or whatever. Yeah, it's good. It can be hard to get media from it sometimes without spending a fortune. But yeah, they enjoy it. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
I was just thinking because like media side of it, as I say, spending a fortune, like getting a proper cameraman, getting a proper person to do the film and making sure you've got all the gameplay footage, and then all the hours of editing on top of that as well can be very straining on a company like this.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, video editing time is the hardest as well. Video editing takes a while. It can be expensive, and and as I'm sure you're aware, on YouTube, unless you get massive, you don't get it back. So it's kind of, and sponsorships are kind of like in the bin right now for the economy. So
actually, I want to talk about that sponsorships. You've got a fair few here, but how have you found it with integrating different sponsorships into Endpoint itself, trying to reach out to sponsors and trying to like see who would be interested in the esports world? Because as you've said already, like esports is easily going to be a couple £1 billion industry in the UK if it in the next couple of years grow to the rate where you would like it to see. How's it been like reaching out to different brands?
Yeah, I mean, actually over the years, that's one of the things that's probably changed the most. So, 7 years ago, it was always an education piece. We talk to a brand and it's like, what the hell is esports? I haven't a clue. Nowadays, I think they're more clued up on what esports is. So you have a little less education piece when you talk to the brand, which is great. But yeah, how time consuming it is trying to reach out to brands is something we're really struggling with ourselves. But also right now in the economy, we've lost a number of sponsors in the last year and we haven't really gained any. And it's most conversations go, our marketing budget isn't there right now because of the economy, which is stupid in a way because everyone when the economy collapses, the first thing that goes is the marketing budget because it's hard to sometimes, justify an ROI. Sometimes it's black and white, black and white, sometimes it's a bit grey. But actually, in the bad economy, the thing you should be doing more is marketing. You should actually be pushing it harder and
get that growth going.
Keep the growth going. Keep getting eyes on your products. You actually should be spending more marketing, but everyone's mindset is the opposite because it's the easiest thing to cut money for. It's harder to cut staff. It's hard to cut all this kind of stuff, but it's easier just to go, oh, we spend that and it's whatever. We'll get rid of that for now. But actually, it should be the opposite, if anything. But not cutting staff, but you should be spending more because you actually see more.
Yeah, so, because the more you spend on marketing, the more you see. Yeah. But it's also that.
But also, if your competing brands are cutting their marketing spend and you're upping it, is really good. Like you can take the market faster.
You can take the market space like Horizon did to Intel, for example. In the first couple of years, they upped that marketing and got out with them CPUs and just it. But that's what you want to do in the next couple of years with like Endpoint. Then just want to get that to the point where you can take over some of that marketing space.
So we'll do some marketing spend on prac rooms just to fill us out, but mainly the development project we've got in the works, which I can't talk about. But but we do have a product which will come out in the next month or two, which is kind of different to esports. It's not really related to esports.
Really?
But it's development side. As Adam's, my business partner, has got a software development background. It's a problem we had in house, and we've just productized it, and we'll send it to businesses. It's also kind of a case study for sponsorship. So, we can put that on our jerseys, we can promote that from Endpoint, and we can see a return and say to brands, look, we've promoted this. This is the return we've got. This is our ROI. Yeah, and it'd be a good case study for us to do at Endpoint as well. It comes down to the fact that like a lot of people think that esports orgs or whatever don't give a return. But if you actually believe in your product, so if we believe that Endpoint can give a return, why don't we build our own businesses and promote them?
Yeah.
Because then you don't even have that third-party cut or anything like that. You get all the profit. So if we actually believe that Endpoint can promote a product and successfully promote it, just do it ourselves.
Yeah, just do it yourself, do it in-house and make sure it's all good. And then you're just promoting your own brand, so it's only benefiting yourselves.
Exactly, in the future, yeah.
Another question I got with working with different teams, working with different communities and stuff like that, I'm pretty sure there's been where egos have clashed and where difficulties have happened. what would be like the most memorable point for you where you've had to deal with something like that and had to basically resolve it?
Sorry, between pros or sponsors? Sorry, or pros, yeah.
Or if you can't talk about it, that's
Counter-Strike over the years, like actually we've been pretty good for the last few years since being a bit more professional, I'd say. But UKCS over the years has been a nightmare. I've had many like horrible moments of like, why am I doing this? Sometimes, you know, working with younger people can be really tough. The scene is, you slowly learn the scene. You slowly learn who the toxic people are, who the non-toxic people are, who you like to work with, who you don't like to work with. Sometimes doesn't correlate with skill, which can be an issue. Obviously, you want the best team.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we've kind of over the years realised toxic people just aren't worth working with. They're just not worth your time. Doesn't matter if they're slightly better. Sometimes it's just not worth your time. It's not worth the headaches. They will always end up breaking your team up. One like a Counter-Strike team, 5 players, one toxic person can ruin the whole team.
You just destroy it completely.
Yeah. It's not like football where you've got 11 players on the pitch. 1 or 2 people might be toxic, but you've got all the subs. And your team is actually much wider. It's in like in esports generally, it's you have subs. You have like, you know, your team is your team. You spend all your time together. You strategize together. So yeah, I won't give you an exact moment. I won't name names or anything like this, but yeah, I think that I've had it many times, and you kind of having to deal with that in house and deal with it in the right way, so it doesn't maybe blow back on your brand as well. And it's difficult, but
understandable. I myself having to deal with some people in the YouTube space, I have to deal with some toxic people, and I understand completely what you mean. Like one person can just ruin a team altogether, because it's just, as you said, it's literally you can have a team of 5. One person's toxic, creates division in the team melts away, and then you're left with holding the debt of together.
It's kind of like it's the set of dominoes always. So you have one player that's toxic.
Dominoes effect.
Exactly. 1 or 2 people might not care. Like they can take a lot. There's some really good players who like realistically they'll have someone toxic and they'll just ignore it. They'll play their own game and they'll play really well still, and they'll still communicate. But that one person might affect one of the other 4 players on the team. Only one. But that one person then gets depressed and hates it and doesn't like playing, or starts getting toxic themselves or disappointed or whatever. That's 2 people on the team. Could then start affecting the 3rd person. That's the majority, and the whole team falls apart. It's like a dominoes effect. It's like that one toxic person might not affect everyone at first, but they'll affect one person, or they'll get to one person, and they'll get to the next person, and so on.
Talking about the players feeling depressed, moving on to how do you deal with teams and their mental health and the fact of losing and winning in this kind of competitive field? How people, they're always going to be winners and there's always going to be losers. After a loss, how do you help the team recover from that and learn from their mistakes? And how do you do you have like meetings, you have strategy meetings? What is your
It's difficult. I think there's 3 steps. There's one, Endpoint is a family, so it's kind of like that's the first step. I think if you build a good environment that people feel like they can say anything in, or they can say, well, they feel like results aren't everything, and it's kind of, you know, if they do bad, that we're not going to be on their back and they're gone. You know, that's the first part, which can be quite hard to build. But second part is having the right staff in place. So if we, for a team, for example, we will hire a coach, it's about hiring the right coach who is seen as the person who's like the head of the team, you could say, or the person who players need to sometimes look up to, or feel like they can talk to, or anything like that. So finding that right person is very important. Then there's obviously the kind of like the team environment, making sure that you have everyone can talk to each other, feel like they can actually say if they got a problem with a person, feel like they can actually talk to them about it, and not just have it bottled up, like build up in their head. And then one of the most important things is we hire a full-time sports psychologist. So we have a guy called Callum, he's brilliant, and he works with all our teams. We also offer it to staff if they want it for like a motivation point or any other side things they struggle with. But he has weekly meetings with the players as a team. So he kind of like builds safe spaces. So you might get all the team together, make it a safe space where they feel like they can say anything and they won't hurt the person they're saying it to. it won't be like a targeted attack against someone. It feels like it's like a safe space.
Open space for someone to talk to.
And then he will also do one-on-one sessions with them as well, where they feel like they can get stuff off their chest. And he can talk to them. He can talk to them about the best ways to, deal with that pressure, or deal with those kind of motivation issues, or deal with those, whatever issues they have. So Callum is a key part of our team for kind of that kind of side of things. Yeah.
That's absolutely amazing you're doing that here at Endpoint, because I know not all companies do that in the esports world. Some are very results driven to the point where some players have been dropped for like one game loss, or some players have been extremely depressed and have had issues of getting back into the sports. So I'm so happy to hear that here in the Endpoint community, where you've got that emotional support, not just like training, but also mental training as well, to help the players get through any losses they might have.
I think it's part of my career as well. As I was a poker player for 12 years.
The
mental game is like the most important thing. It relates perfectly to esports, and I spend a lot of time on that on myself personally. It's very key. Yeah.
Well, almost at the end, but I kind of want to jump into that poker player side of yourself, if you don't mind talking about it.
Right,
So what was it like being like a full-time poker player? Because you hear about it and you're just like, how does that even
Probably
work?
not as glamorous as maybe it sounds. I mean, it depends what kind of poker player you are. You can do online or live. So you go to casinos and all stuff, which I did it when I was first starting. I went to more kind of like live events, but you then end up playing in a casino till 3, 4, 5 a.m. with sometimes degenerate people. It's not very nice. I much preferred the kind of like online space where I just play online by VC. I mean, you just end up playing 12 tables at a time kind of thing, just sitting there. That's kind of what I wanted to go more to esports. It wasn't about the money. It was kind of like, I just got bored of it in the end after doing it so long. I got to a stage where I felt like I was just clicking buttons every day and not
everything fulfill you.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas esports is different every single day. I love it. It's like I do this different to yesterday's stuff, or so I'll never be annoyed about my poker career. It allowed me to do this.
Yeah.
It allowed me to kind of like have that disposable income. It allowed me to be able to build something that I actually enjoy. Which I used to play Counter-Strike as a kid. Esports was my life. I loved it. So just doing albeit for a living instead of. But yeah, I was always be grateful for poker. I love my time in it.
That's awesome to hear. Well, seeing as you played poker so much and Counter-Strike was your life and younger, what's your best skin?
Best skin in the game I've got?
Yeah.
It changes quite a lot. I've never really been one for skins too much. I have skins that come in and out of my account because we give away skins on our hub. So skins do come and go in my account like quite a bit. But I don't even have a knife or anything at the moment. So,
really? That's got to change.
I did get one skin I did quite like actually. I got random drop in like an MM game, or a casual game, or it was an AWP, like a DDP. I think it's like a purple one. It's like a purple like kind of pixelated AWP. I actually quite liked it. It's only worth like 10 quid. It wasn't even worth that much, but I genuinely just liked it.
It's the underappreciated skins, like £10, £15, and you're just like, I really like this one. And then you see someone with Dragon Lore was like 10, 20 grand now, and then you see someone pulling cases like recently with some Twitch streamers pulling knives, like who was it recently? Ludwig pulled like a blue karambit knife, which is absolutely insane.
Probably spent a crazy amount of money on
ridiculous amount of money. It's worth 10 grand a knife, but he probably spent 30 grand. Which is ridiculous. But anyway, Pete, thank you, Mr. Bear. And thank you, Pete, for letting me come here and talk to you today. If you haven't already, guys, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and go and check out Endpoint if you haven't already. It's an amazing UK company. You should definitely go check it down in the description below. And if you want to get into the esports scene, this is a place to come.
Cheers.
Bye!